Hey folks, Craig Danger, vinyl record player. Ho! That's right. It's 2024. The vinyl tags, they're coming out of everywhere. They're coming out of the bushes. They're attacking us all. What do we got now? We got ourselves a little bit of soul vinyl tag, which of course I'm going to love. The Danger's all over that. So if you're with me, I'm going to recommend first off, you buckle up. All right, and we're back. So we're going to do the soul vinyl tag provided by DJ Vinyl Vertigo this year. I didn't even know I believe there was one of these last year or the year before. I'm only about a year into this whole VC business, year and a half into this VC business. I got to say, I'm feeling like a veteran. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the 20 question Soul 2024 vinyl tag. Again, thanks to everybody who's participated. I've seen some great entries already, and love it. Love it when people talk about soul in the VC. As I've said on many an occasion, always could be more soul and funk in the vinyl community. So let's just start right off. Let's name my most listened to soul album. Here it is, Al Green, I'm Still in Love with You, 1972. This, of course, the second classic album released by Al Green in 1972. After what was the first one? How about Let's Stay Together? Two legendary albums, 1 year, 72. This one I've had forever. I actually have a copy up on my old soul wall. Probably had this for 20 plus years. It's Al's best. I'm not afraid to stand on the fence and say this is Al's best. So if you are looking for an Al Green entry point, you should be looking to the 1970s, and you should be looking to I'm Still in Love with You from 1972. Or again, don't get me wrong, you can go to Let's Stay Together and you would be very happy. Number two, I'm going to try to wrap this up a little. The original vinyl tag this year, by the end my voice was all and I was losing my mind. All due respect to Rob Walker for making that happen to me. But I'm going to wrap this up a little quicker this time, so let's go. Most recent soul purchase, I'm going to go with this one. This was something I picked up on Discogs. Gladys Knight, I think her first album, Imagination, on the Buddha label. This was after her and the Pips leaving Motown. Let me tell you, a lot of great work with Motown. Some great production by Johnny Bristol, amongst many other. Frank Wilson was also involved in their production. Imagination signaled their move to Buddha. Also, I believe Midnight Train to Georgia is on this big dog. Yes, starts the whole jam right off. But you know what? This is a great album, and of course, what do we got? The Pips? Are the Pips wearing white suits there? White suits, of course. If you're a watcher of the channel, you know that white suits are, of course, always the new black tuxedo. So they looking good. Red shirts going on in there too. Red shirts and white tie. Ooh, men after my own heart. Gotta say, Gladys Knight and the Pips' Imagination, this is a great album. I will say, I feel like the quality begins to fade after this for Gladys. Different times, changing times, disco was a little bit more prominent, but this one is a hell of a way to start out with Buddha. Kind of declare your independence from Motown Records. So again, Gladys Knight and the Pips' Imagination. Just bought this one recently. Let's talk about a male soul artist. I thought I'd whip this out. I love me some Leon Haywood. Leon Haywood, back to stay this is probably from 72, 73. This was his debut album, of course. Not a very, nice little design on the back there, nice little design. Not really a huge hit. In fact, my favorite song on this album is, of course, As Long as There's You, Babe, I Got Love. Oh, it's a banger. 7 minutes of banger. And basically, I'll be frank about it. He basically steals Walk On By Isaac Hayes, which again is one of the best soul tracks of all time. But it's a really fun album. Anything Leon Haywood, he's of course best known for I Want to Do Something Freaky to You from 1975, which of course was sampled by Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, I think it's Nothing But a G Thing, but I'm not 100%. Anyway, Leon Haywood, if you see any of his albums, even going up to 80, really good stuff. Really underappreciated LA soul singer. Leon Haywood, Back to Stay. Ooh, it's a good one on the 20th Century label. Of course, also home to Barry White. Next up, let's talk about a Stax release. Oh, how about the Stax release from one of my favorite soul groups of all time? How about the Dramatics? This is a dramatic experience. This will be their second album after the first one was, I believe, What You See Is What You Get. Ooh, which is also legendary. Frankly, I slept on the Dramatics quite a bit. To be honest, I just assumed that it was only their Stax works that were the best. The problem is that they keep going with ABC once Stax goes defunct. This one is really good. This one's got Get Off My Mountain. The Devil Is Dope is a classic. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Nice dragon action. No actual shots of the band on this one, which is a little surprising. But again, this is a really good album. This is obviously an original press. It's Stax, but you know, it's on the Volt subsidiary, which is basically just Stax. So yeah, the Dramatics, a dramatic experience is my my Stax release. And like I say, anything on Stax by the Dramatics you can buy easily, keenly. A lot of their ABC stuff from basically 75 on, it's a little patchier in there, a little bit more disco, but there are also some great albums there. And yeah, you can get those all day for under 10. So, but this one, ooh, dramatic experience by the Dramatics. Ooh, it's a win. Scary Dragons. What to say about Scary Dragons? Next up, let's talk about a soul artist not from America. I like to rep the Canada. You know how it goes. How about Alma Faye Brooks? More of a disco artist, actually, to be honest. This would be like from 78, 79. This would be her first LP. I don't think she had very many LPs after this one. But Juno Award, I believe, winner, as a matter of fact. At least I know that she was a nominee in either 76 or 77 as sort of the new, what was it? It was upcoming female vocalist. Anyway, this is a fun old album on the RCA label. And this is odd, too. This is not a repress. Nice little brown, sort of beige-ish vinyl on this one. Yeah, I picked this one up as a total blind buy, but you know what? It's a win. And Alma, Alma looking good. Alma looking good. But again, this one, I think I got this for about $10. You can probably get this relatively cheap if you happen to see a copy. But it's a party album, as often disco albums tend to be. Alma Faye Brooks doing it from I'm going to say 78, maybe 79. Just resplendent in the fur. I mean, the fur, friends. What's up next? Oh, let's talk about a female soul artist. One of my favorites. How about Esther Phillips? Really, Esther, legendary soul artist with a few problems. She's done jazz. She started in the 50s, actually. What's crazy about Esther Phillips is that early on, she was like addicted to heroin as a teenager, which, again, I'm going to go ahead and say advice for future performers. Getting addicted to heroin as a teenager is a terrible idea, and it's not going to really lend well for your future career. This, of course, is on the Kudu label, which, of course, is a Creed Taylor production. Really, really great stuff. All of the albums, and first of all, I love the design of the Kudu label. They all kind of look like this with the black bar, the green, black, and red printing, and then, of course, whatever photo. But this is one of her best, Esther Phillips, From a Whisper to a Scream, with the title track, but also Home is Where the Hatred Is. A little bit of classic, Gil Scott, Heron. Wow, fantastic version. Anything Esther Phillips, particularly on the Kudu label, you should pick up. But there are a lot of great stuff. She did a lot of work in the 60s, and there's a great 60s live album of hers. I would go up until about 80, and then around 80, you're going to be starting to deal with the machines. So it depends, buyer beware on those ones. But when it comes to it, anything 70s from Esther Phillips is fantastic. And this is by all means her best from 1972. From Whisper to a Scream, Esther Phillips. Now, this one actually, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? But then I thought immediately, I know what to do. Basically, a gospel album by a soul artist. And of course, I've got a couple. How about Al Green, Precious Lord? I believe this is from 82. Al looking good. And of course, this is on the Mirror label, which again, very indie, but you know, everyone knows the story about Al Green. Basically, he had some problems with the girlfriend. The girlfriend is boiling up a kettle, a big pot of grits, and they have a big argument, and then the girlfriend comes while he's in the shower, dumps the grits on him. Oh my God, serious, terrible burns. And then the girlfriend's like, well, I'm just gonna go shoot myself. And that's what happened. It's kind of really terrible. What comes out of it? What's the lesson that Al learns? It turns out he's like, well, you know what? I gotta serve God. I gotta do gospel jams. And everyone else, you know, on the high label is like, what? Why? Al, why? Al, please, no. He did. And basically became a priest. Not really a priest, but I guess an ordained minister that's got his own church. And throughout the 80s, he did records like Precious Lord, or this one, The Lord Will Make a Way. This one's from 80. Again, these are actually very good records. You would be surprised. Again, I do have one, I think, from about 86, and then you're starting to talk a little bit about those freaky sort of 80s drum machines. Not a fan of those. But again, Al Green, still Al Green throughout the 80s. He's just singing about the Lord and doing it in that classic Al Green style. So I cannot hate on any of these records. I thought maybe it would be a severe turn down. It really isn't. Al's still Al. And it's almost impossible to hate on Al, who is, I think, one of the best soul performers that ever lived. Let's be honest. Let's continue with, of course, a blue-eyed soul artist. Oh, one of my favorites. Mentioned this on the channel many a time. Delaney and Bonnie. Delaney, of course, right here. Bonnie, of course, Bonnie being the lady. Married couple. Soul pair. They actually started out on the Stax label. A lot of really great musicians they worked with, including Jim Gordon on drums, Carl Radle on bass. Eric Clapton actually went on tour with him. Delaney actually produced Eric Clapton's first LP. I like to call it Delaney's real solo album because, wow, does it ever sound like Delaney. But yeah, Eric Clapton, I think it's one of his best records produced by Delaney. I would say this is basically from about 71 to Bonnie from Delaney, one of their best. But you know what? They've only got about 5 albums. And if you see any of these for under 10, pick it up. This is really good stuff. It's more of, I guess, what you would call rock and soul. But wow, is it good. And after that, I got to be real, they sort of, around 72, they broke up. They got divorced. After that, I mean, neither of them really pulled off anything sort of as musically majestic as they did when they were Delaney and Bonnie. So yes, my white, or rather blue-eyed soul artist is always going to be Delaney and Bonnie. Let's talk about next a soul artist that more people should be aware of. Well, if you're new to this channel, then you may be like, well, I'm not sure that I know. But if you're a keen veteran of watching Craig Danger make a fool of himself on a weekly, then you have definitely seen this big dog. Talk about Willie Hutch. Willie Hutch easily, nobody knows who the hell this guy is. And wow, the funky coming off of this gentleman. This is from 69, but he basically did records up until 85, really consistently until about 79. He was doing almost 2 LPs a year. This one, though, he starts with an absolute banger of an album on the, it is the RCA label. This, of course, is a repress, but Willie Hutch, if there's one artist that you take away from this whole thing, please check out Willie Hutch. Also, in the comments, I'll probably put a couple of videos where I not only rank the albums of Willie Hutch, but I also, just as kind of, and I believe I even set up a playlist with 18 absolute smoking bangers by my friend Willie Hutch. Again, he is indeed the artist that so many people don't know about, but they should. Willie Hutch throughout the 70s on Motown and then on Whitfield Records. Woo, legendary stuff. Let's talk about, very quickly with this one, we will talk about a soul artist featured on a rock album. I'm just going to go ahead and say Exile on Main Street, probably my favorite Rolling Stones album. And who are we talking about? Billy Preston. Billy Preston was on a lot of their albums. He toured with them. He was always kind of a, he was, I guess, the fifth Beatle. But then later he kind of became the fifth Rolling Stone. Is that or the 6th, whatever, doesn't matter. Billy Preston, always a delight to hear playing keys, and he is most definitely on this album, along with the, believe it or not, luminary from Delaney and Bonnie, and Derek and the Dominoes, Bobby Whitlock. But here we're talking about Billy Preston. He's a win. Let's talk about a Motown release as we move through it, a clip. How about The Undisputed Truth, Face to Face with the Truth. Now, if you've seen this channel before, you know that I think that everybody should know legendary producer Norman Whitfield. Started kind of as a producer of The Temptations, some of The Temptations' sort of best psychedelic work. The Undisputed Truth would be basically his band. So effectively the band that he obviously worked with The Temptations quite a bit, but he kind of created his own band as vehicles for some of the songs that he wrote and produced. The Undisputed Truth, they do albums up through until 80, first on the Motown Gordy label, and then later into the decade, we start seeing them on Whitfield Records. But don't sleep on the Truth, Undisputed Truth, really great stuff. Kind of a shame that really only their big hit was Smiling Faces Sometimes, which is a great song, but you know what? They do a lot of fantastic stuff. And again, when you got a legendary producer like Norman Whitfield, it is hard to go wrong. So The Undisputed Truth is my Motown release. Let's talk about a soul artist in deep need of a box set. Again, if you know the channel, you know that Craig's gonna be talking about Jerry Butler, the Iceman, hashtag Big Jerry. I have said it a million times about Jerry Butler. I'm stunned at how high quality his early 70s work is and how few people even know what the heck it is. He had obviously a major hit to start his career with For Your Precious Love, which is an absolute banger with the Impressions. He had a few hits going up until about 68, and then he had Only the Strong Survive, which I believe went to number 4 Billboard. But after that, it was kind of a little bit of a downhill in terms of hits, but what an upswing in terms of creativity. This, of course, is from 72, The Spice of Life, Jerry Butler. I just listened to this album the other night. I listened to this album, I gotta be honest, at least a couple times a month. It is a double LP. I've been on record, and I'll say it again, that this is the best soul double LP that's not by Stevie Wonder ever created. And what a winner. A couple more here. Same period from 71, the Sagittarius movement. I mean, you got Jerry as a centaur. I mean, who doesn't? Hey, he's shooting arrows, because that's what centaurs do, let's be honest. The Sagittarius movement, and then of course this one from 71 as well. Let's not forget, Jerry's putting out 2 albums a year. What does his box set look like, in my opinion? I would say just do the Mercury years, starting in 68, and move on to about 74 when he puts out Sweet 16, but you'll want to include classics from this. Jerry Butler sings assorted songs from also 71. Woo! 70 to 72 is just prime. You see anything from Jerry Butler from 70 to 72, you should buy. And in fact, you can even go to 68. I don't as much love the Iceman Cometh, and what was the second one was Ice on Ice. Those ones are okay, but I really feel like he really finds a deep groove in the 70s, and that's why he needs a box set. Is it going to happen? No, it's not. The danger can be a realist, and it's probably not going to happen, but it should. Jerry Butler should have a box set. Next up, let's talk about an artist that I've seen in concert. Now, I've already mentioned Al Green. I did see him in 05. It was probably one of the most reverential gigs of my entire life. Wow. Mind-blowing. He was a genius. I think the man's still touring, which is wild, but I think he would still be excellent. And I would say this, I've seen rock bands who were big in the 60s and who were big in the 70s, and now you see them and you're like, they're just kind of shells of their former self. Not so much with soul performers, who so much of it is their voice. They have these crack bands of just amazing musicians anyway, but I'm telling you, some of the singing, like how about the Isley Brothers, which I just actually saw last year at the Los Angeles County Fair in Upland / Ontario, California. Of course, this is Brother from 71, or it might be 72 actually. Brother, I think by far their most consistent and best album. Whoa, really good one. This is just before they expand the group from from the 3 players to 6. Of course, the next album, I believe, is called 3+3. They add some more Isleys to the mix and basically become what I would call a funk behemoth for the rest of the 1970s. But this is really good stuff. Also, the previous album to this is also very good. I'm still kind of on the lookout for that. But again, the Isley Brothers, just saw them live last year. Ooh, really good. Ronald Isley, it's only Ronald and Ernie left. And Ronald is, in fact, Ronald's one of these gentlemen. It might be him right here. The original 2 guys, they're gone. Ernie was part of that second generation of Isleys that came in. Ernie rips. He plays the guitar and he just don't care. He just rips. So again, if you get the opportunity to see Isley Brothers, or really, you know what, any of these 70s soul artists, if you get that opportunity, you should. Because, man, these people are in their 80s now. So if you get that opportunity, you got to take it or you're going to miss it. It just is what it is. So Isley Brothers, ooh, really, really good stuff. Let's talk about a jazz record by a soul artist. Kind of cheating. I don't think I have a lot of that, so I just thought I'd go with it's about the second or third album by Nancy Wilson. Paired up with Cannonball Adderley. It's a great album. Nancy Wilson, I'm not sure that you would ever really call her a soul, like a deep soul artist. Certainly not on like a gospel tip or whatever. But she had an immensely long career and really just a fantastic sort of smooth, buttery voice. Really more of a jazz singer than a soul singer, but I would say that she put out a lot of soul material that was very fantastic. But this album is kind of known as a great, and I was lucky enough to pick this one up last year. It's from about 62, I believe. And, fantastic. Also a fantastic looking woman who can wear yellow in a snap. So, Nancy Wilson, Cannonball Adderley, a little bit of a cheat on this one because I would say she's closer to a jazz singer than she is to a soul singer. But again, that career is so long and she did so much non-jazz material that I can only add, hey, Nancy Wilson deserves to be in this mix. Next up, we're talking about a soul artist both in group form and then, of course, on his own, on a solo tip. We'll start out, I believe, from about 67, 68. How about I Wish It Would Rain by the Temptations? I could have gone a couple of ways with this one, certainly. But it's a good one. You know what? Anything Whitfield, anything 67 on from the Temptations is almost an automatic pickup. Really good stuff. Anything produced by Norman Whitfield, who I've already mentioned, very much worth picking up. This is a great album. But who did I choose? I chose Eddie. You know, Eddie Kendricks. Obviously, this is his self-titled, not his debut, but I believe his second album. Of course, Keep On Truckin', his biggest hit. But I also have his debut album, which is also fantastic. Cookin' Production might have been produced by Frank Wilson. I'm not 100%, but I can tell you that, this is a great album. And anything Eddie Kendricks in the 70s is not expensive. You're not going to pay up big dollars for these. I think I probably got this for about $10. So Eddie Kendricks, legendary soul performer, kind of on a falsetto tip, just to warn those folks out there who maybe not familiar with Eddie, but he is good, and like I say, you can pick up any of his stuff up until maybe about 76. Then you're heading into murkier, more disco waters. But again, Eddie Kendricks, ex of the Temptations. Okay, this one I just can't. I can't. I'm Craig Danger. I do a lot of soul. I do a lot of funk. Favorite soul song? That's not even possible. I'm just going to leave it like that. It's not even possible. There are so many. I can't, because that's going to change from week to week to month. So I won't. I just won't. I protest. The danger protests. All right, but let's move on. Let's do a reggae soul artist. Well, I can only do so much there anyway, but I was fortunate that I started getting into Jimmy Cliff end of the year last year. So, of course, would be his debut release in America, Wonderful World, Beautiful People. You cannot fail if you purchase this record. This is, of course, a repress, probably like an 80s repress, but it's so clean and lovely. I don't care. Jimmy Cliff, hard to fail. I actually picked up a couple of his other albums from the 70s. Also really great work. Not that kind of deeper reggae sort of stuff that, the Wailers or Bunny Wailer would be putting up, but more of on a poppy level. But again, Jimmy Cliff. It's hard to go wrong throughout the 70s, but definitely the early 70s, including this album. Best works. Let's talk about a live in concert. I mean, we got to go to one of the absolute super legends of the soul diorama. We can only be speaking of Otis Redding. In my opinion, one of the most unique soul voices ever. Fantastic performer. Of course, everyone knows the story. Went down in a plane crash. I believe it was late '67, December of '67. Truly sad story. I can't tell you how many times that I thought, how would Otis have sounded in the '70s with some of these fantastic producers, like heavy strings, funky drums. I can only imagine. But Otis Redding live in Europe. This is a great record. It's got all the hits: Respect, Can't Turn You Loose, Day Tripper, These Arms of Mine. All really banging stuff. So if you do see this one, look at this cover. Look at this. It's got the tonic suit happening and everything. Oh, R.I.P. Otis. Gone way too soon. Truly one of the big disasters of soul music is that Otis Redding did not live on. Again, obviously, Sam Cooke would fit in that as well. But again, Otis Redding live in Europe is my choice of a live soul LP. And we'll close. Well, we're not closing yet. We got two more, but this is the last album I'm going to show anyway. And of course, this is a compilation. I just picked this one up actually. Chicago Soul. This one, I bought it on a whim. I think it was about $5. It's a double LP, but you got a lot of cool stuff. Really, mainly, I think a lot of this is on the Dakar, and also I believe maybe there might be some Brunswick. Yeah, there's some Brunswick because the Shy Lights are on this. But listen to this lineup. You got Lost Generation, Barbara Acklin, Gene Chandler. By the way, there's way too much Gene Chandler on this big dog. It's like, Gene gets a whole side. I'm like, what are we doing? I think Gene's music is a little cheaper to license. Young Holt Trio, Tyrone Davis. You're not going to get the giant hits on this, but again, for $5 to get a double LP set of what is prime Chicago Soul, I couldn't deny it, and yeah, it's actually, like I say, it's very good. We got anything cool in there? Oh, little story of, yeah, okay, so they are on the Brunswick or Dakar labels. Again, if you see this one for under 10, it's worth a pickup. And we'll close it out, of course, with the final question, which is favorite soul channel in the VC. I'm gonna name as many as I can. I would definitely name, as an example, Retro Musings. If you have not seen her channel, she does a lot of soul and a lot of funk. She does a lot of other stuff. I wouldn't call her primarily a soul channel, but most people do no soul on their channels at all. So I will include her without a doubt. Probably my second favorite got to be Lawrence, the Mellow Man. That man does some delicious soul, but he also will throw in some Latin in the mix. He is a funky, funky man, and one of my favorites. He's introduced me to some fantastic records. So you know what? And then, of course, number one, it's got to be, I believe it was my number one channel of last year. That could only be John, 6-inch Pianist. One of my favorites. Really, truly inspirational in terms of bringing me in. Of course, there had been other channels that I had watched in the past, but no one does soul like John, 6-inch Pianist. He'll also throw in some reggae in the mix. Whatever. He is a master at picking up great records. So again, I would say as the best, I would say Retro Musings, number 3. Lawrence, of course, The Mellow Man, number 2. And John, 6-inch Pianist, at number 1. And I will, of course, link to them in the comments. So please check them out. Please subscribe to them. And if you're actually still here, this was a bit of a long old video, please subscribe. Subscribers have incredible luck and really end up winning everything that they compete at. It's just a fact. I'm just saying, it's a fact. So again, thank you again for tuning in for the Soul Tag 2024, and I will see you on the next one.